Business Growth Talks podcast is created and hosted by Mark Hayward. In this show, we talk about how to grow a business in the growth stage. The growth stage is often marked by rapid developments, increased revenue, and an escalating customer base. In each episode, we talk to entrepreneurs and business owners who have grown businesses, and we cover topics like scaling processes, market expansion, financial management, human resource and talent development, and customer retention. If you are looking for actionable advice, tips, and techniques on...
Today's guest is Sean Tepper, who is the founder and CEO of Tikr, a groundbreaking stock screener and education platform with over 9,000 customers in 50 countries. Sean started Tikr as an Excel spreadsheet in 2016, achieving impressive returns of 15% to 50% annually. By 2020, he had transformed it into a full software solution, empowering investors worldwide to manage their investments with confidence. Tune in as we deep dive into Sean's journey from an IT project manager to a thriving fintech company. Hey, Sean, how are you?
Hey, Mark. Good to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for being on my show. I'm really excited about this because just before we came on, you said that your basis of your company is on Warren Buffett's sort of methodology, which I think is very interesting. He's obviously the poster boy of investing. So we're going to go deep dive into that area. So I'm really looking forward to hearing more about Tikr and yourself. But the first question I ask all of my guests is, what does a business mindset mean to you?
Yeah, good question. So business mindset, you have to remove emotions from the equation and focus on a business being a profit center. If it's not a profit center, it's not really business. It takes a while to generate a profit depending on the business model, but that should be the mindset is you need to serve people, it needs to be a profit center. And if it's not, something has to change.
And how long was it? So you started the business in 2016. How many years was it till you were actually profitable?
Yep, I can give you context there. So I created the Excel sheet for Tikr for my own usage in about 2015 or 16. And
Right.
prior to that, I had tried angel investing. I'll keep this really short, but I was investing in private businesses. I built and went through a merger of a business through 2006 and 2010. It was just an agency building software and websites for small businesses. Long story short, there was no exit multiple on that. Pretty much all debts and liabilities wiped clean. And then I thought, well, I'm a smart guy. I could build a business, but let's build a tech company. So I was investing in private tech, didn't make really any money over 5 years, made some money and lost some money, but it was like break even, which that's not good investing. Then I created the Excel sheet. I'm like, I'm going to do this the right way, following Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger. Found another guy out there by the name of Phil Town, read as many books as I could, and iterated and used this Excel sheet for 4 years just for my own purposes, making returns, as you mentioned earlier, between 15 and 50% per year. S&P 500, to give you guys context, returns about 8 to 10% per year. So it's definitely beating the market. It was really 2019 is when I was like, I might have a SaaS idea, but let's confirm. Sent this Excel sheet out to a few retail investors, and everybody's like, yeah, you should turn this into a software. And it was like a 10-year time period up until that point that I was looking for that SaaS idea, whether it's an email marketing platform or data analytics or whatever, but it's so saturated. I wanted to find something with a narrow moat, not a lot of competitors, and this happening perfect. So yeah, it went live in 2020. That's when the business went live. We are now 4 years old. We're a SaaS business. We could turn a profit this year. We're at about 10,000 customers now, just over around the world. If we could get to about, I was doing the math, if I could get to about 12,000 customers, that's a sweet spot where we may turn the corner to a profitable SaaS business. SaaS is so hard. If you have an agency like you're just doing work on your own, you can be pretty profitable quickly because it's just a service business, but SaaS has got a lot of overhead. So.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that as a little bit later, because it is definitely, and the whole idea of creating a SaaS business, it just sucks money. It absolutely, because you're constantly trying to iterate and make it better. I worked for a number of years helping build software for corporates,
Sure.
and I know I'm not a developer. I helped with the sales and helped with the sort of business analyst and building the software.
Yeah.
And I know the time, effort, and that it takes to build these softwares, and And I will interested to hear about whether you've had any investment as well. But all that will come a little bit later. I want to ask you
We'll
the
get there.
second question, which is about your upbringing. Tell me one thing about your upbringing which reflects on who you are today.
Yeah, I give a lot of credit to my parents. Raised me with high integrity. If you say you're going to do something, you do it. Come hell or high water, you don't deviate. If you say you're going to do something, you do it. So my parents, they had high integrity, raised me on Christian values. I'm a Christian, so I'm not a preachy type person, but I do incorporate a lot of basic biblical principles in business and life. And some people pick up on it and some people don't. But it's you do what's right. You don't do it for the money. You provide value to others. And that really holds true. I try to stick to it. I've had opportunities with Tikr where there have been like crypto exchanges and precious metal opportunities with celebrity endorsements that have come to me with checks. And those aren't wise investments. And I was like, nope, I got to turn down the money. Could have used the money, but I'm going to turn it down because it's not the right thing to do.
So was your family entrepreneurial?
My mother, she was not, which is fine. She worked with a lot of people who had Down syndrome, autism, cerebral palsy, a lot of people who were at disability work centers. And a lot of people in this industry would call it more ability work centers, but it was really good perspective on helping those in need. I loved it. I got to meet a lot of these people. And then my dad was actually in sales. He was a chemical salesman for the dairy industry. I'm in Wisconsin and there's a lot of farms around, and you need cleaning chemicals to clean the vats. Otherwise you're going to have spoiled milk. And he was very entrepreneurial with his sales practice, like how he approached the business and how he treated his customers. That was a big foundation. In fact, my favorite quote from him on a business side was, there's so many things we all have to do as business owners, but always prioritize that which generates revenue. Yeah. So of the 1,000 things we as entrepreneurs need to do, we've got our daily checklist or whatever we do, really rank order them. What's going to move the needle the most? What's going to generate the most revenue? And then focus on that. I always remind myself, because I'll get caught up in stuff that's minutia. Yeah. But is it really generating revenue? So I go back to them.
Yeah, that's great. Some influences that I've had through my life, they keep you grounded when you get excited about a new project or a new avenue or a new revenue stream. Having that sort of in my head, is it going to be profitable? Is it worth your time for what you're trying to achieve? And so it's always very grounding to have that sort of voice in your head, just to say, because I get excited when new projects or new things come along. I'm very entrepreneurial in that sense. I probably do suffer from the shiny penny syndrome, but I'm very much conscious or self-aware of it. So I don't jump at everything. But I think it is something that we do have to just try and keep on coming back to as entrepreneurs is this actually going to add value to your clients, in essence, or your business or your employees, that's really going to turn the dial when it comes to profitability or revenue or KPIs when you're looking at the indicators for you. Thank you for sharing that. So we've talked a little bit about the start of Tikr. And so let's just explore that sort of 4 years where you were investing your own money into the model that you were using. Talk me through the model that you use, and you say it's inspired by Buffett and Munger. What is that strategy? How were you doing it in the first 4 years?
Yeah. So give context on other platforms out there. They use a lot of bells and whistles and indicators that are messy. And in many cases, you don't know how to make a decision. So I knew I needed something with a little more rigor. Here's an example. I'm not going to give a name of a platform, but there's platforms that'll give you P to E ratio, which is price to earnings. And then they'll look at market cap and then make a decision. And it reminds me of, if you ever seen the movie Moneyball, when the older recruiters are looking at baseball players and making a judgment call based on how handsome they are, or how the son of a ball pops off a bat, or what their girlfriend looks like. And then Brad Pitt's character brings in the analyst played by Jonah Hill and just uses mathematics and a lot of mathematics to cut through the clutter and really coming to the realization it's those who win games, it's getting on base. So I knew like these indicators that people were using, they were just missing the mark by a long shot. And when I started looking into what Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger did, they look at a bit more. But then Phil Town, I have to give a lot of credit to him. He's not as popular as Warren and Charlie, but he provided a lot of mathematics in his books. And my background, after my first merger, I got into corporate project management. Your best friend is pretty much Excel. And I've always been pretty decent at Excel, and I'm a nerd that way. And I'm like, all right, so let's put these equations into Excel. And it was looking at a whole list of data points like revenue a year over 5 years. What's that growth rate look like in net income, your profitability, EPS, which is also profitability. Then you got free cash. Then you got debt. Then you have liability, assets, equity. There's a long list. And when I looked at that and then seeing the returns like Phil was doing, I was like, this on paper, this makes sense, because there's so many more data points to use, and they're logical data points. It's not like market cap really doesn't matter, but profits, that matters. So that's when I put it into Excel. I tweaked it, and then I needed to create like a traffic like rating system. Like when you stop your car at the traffic light, it's either green, orange, or red. It's a very, you know what to do. It's very definitive. So I needed that same system. So that's why Tikr in this Excel sheet, I created it so it's on sale, watch, or overpriced. And you want to look for those on sale stocks are green, watch is gray, and then overpriced is red. And I color coordinated this Excel sheet, and I get this, it would take me 10 minutes to copy and paste data points from like Yahoo Finance over to this Excel sheet. But at the end of the 10 minutes, I knew I had a definitive buy or sell. It wasn't this like feelings or emotions. Yeah, maybe Tesla's a good investment, or maybe everybody's talking about Nvidia right now. Like, is Nvidia good? It was very definitive. And after then using my own money and testing the results, is I'm beating the market by a long shot here. So I knew I got to get away from this Excel sheet, just have a software, just pull the data in from a database, analyze it. And right now we've got over 40,000 stocks, and it's all real time. But yeah, it was painstakingly time consuming in the beginning.
For an individual, how many stocks would you suggest someone should have? Because obviously with funds, because I use a fund that does invest for me, and they're doing geography areas, and they're doing percentage wise. So you do 30% US, whatever, etc. And therefore they're investing in a multitude. And I know there is a weakness in funds that it's an artificial percentage that you're doing per geography, but just as a normal average investor who's looking to get into investing using Tikr, is there a number? Is it 10 stocks you should have? Is it 2 stocks you should have? Is it 20 stocks you should have? How do you help? What would you advise as a starter investor to invest in a number of stocks?
So we'll take a step back. I'm going to use a quote here, and then we're going to drill into what does this all mean. Yeah. So one of my favorite quotes from Warren Buffett is, diversification is an insurance policy for the ignorant. So what does that mean? There are 2 buckets you fall into if you're an investor. You're in either wealth building mode or wealth protection mode. And if you're in wealth building mode, that's when you're still working. You either work a job or have a business, and you have a timeline to achieve financial independence or retirement. It could be 5 years out, 10 years out, 15 years out. But in that case, you want to be in individual stocks in between 10 and 15 stocks. For example, both Warren and Charlie have mentioned about 30 stocks or less. If you can get it closer to that 10, that's really good. I hold 10 stocks. When you join Tikr, you can actually see my portfolio, what I'm invested in. It's transparency. Ben Graham has even talked about when you get over 30, you're essentially creating an index fund. That's wealth building mode, and you should be expecting to make between 15 and 50% per year. Most people in the world believe they are behind the 8 ball. What that means is they feel like they should be further ahead with their investments. You have options. You can get a second job. You can get a third job. You can work around the clock, or you can get money working for you. That's wealth building mode. Wealth protection mode is when you're at financial independence or retirement. In that case, you don't want to be in individual stocks. You can, but you want to move to an ETF or 2 or 3 an index fund 2 or 3, or maybe mutual funds just have a higher expense ratio. So that's why we tell people, if you choose between the 3, I recommend either an ETF or index fund. You're going to get about 8 to 10% per year. There are too many people out there I see in their 20s, 30s, and 40s piling into funds. And the analogy I use is, let's say you show up at the Indy 500 and all the cars, they are going about 230 miles an hour, except you show up with a 1992 Honda Civic. Your top speed is 95 miles an hour.
Yeah.
You've got the wrong tool for the job. It's way too slow. So wealth building mode, you want to be in about 10 to 15 stocks.
10 to 15 stocks. Interesting. And how do you decide, with the mathematics behind it, how do you decide when to sell? At what point is there that I should be selling a given stock?
Yeah, I'll give you very definitive ratings here on both the buy signal and sell signal. And these are the top 2 questions I get the most after 4 years. When do I buy and when do I sell? Here we go.
Yeah.
All right, so using Tikr, when to buy, there are 2 indicators. Number 1, you look for those on sale stocks. And only about 15% of stocks in the stock market make it to on sale. It's very hard to get there. We have a very rigorous rating system. So number 1 is on sale. Number 2, we have a tool in Tikr called the 4M Confidence Booster. It's powered by OpenAI, and it takes hours, if not days, of research and compresses it down to seconds. And what it does is, and I'll give the 4 M's here real quick. The first M is the math part of investing. That's like the profits of the business. That's called the margin of safety. So that's M number 1. M number 2 is the meaning. That's the business model. How does a business make money? How many revenue streams does it have? Number 3 is the moat. That's how a business stacks up against other businesses in the same sector or industry. And then the last M is the management. That's the track record of the CEO. So doing all 4, again, could take you hours, if not days. We've done rigorous testing. It took about 6 months to build this feature in itself, again, with OpenAI, but it reduces it down to seconds. There's a rating system between 0 and 100. If you can get above 80, that's a buy. If you get below 59, that's a sell. So to back up, buying signal is when it's on sale and your 4M is greater than 80. And we have this in our onboarding and education so people know exactly what to do.
Yeah.
The sell side, it's not 2-step process, it's a 3-step process. So here we go. When your on sale stock changes to watch or overpriced, that's step 1. Step 2 is your 4M score drops below 259 or below. And step 3, this is key, is only sell for profit. So in my case, I made the decision years ago, I will not lose money in the stock market. Warren Buffett, another quote from him is rule 1, don't lose money. Rule 2, don't forget rule 1. What that means is you have to remember that you're not investing in stocks. You're investing in businesses. If they continuously sell products and services that help people, their stock will eventually go back up, especially if it was a good stock. So in my case, if that stock drops below my cost basis or my average buy price, I refuse to sell for a loss. I will wait. I will wait 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, whatever it takes for it to pop back up. And that's when I sell, move my money over to something else, rinse, repeat.
Interesting. And I'm interested about the research, because one of the things that Buffett talks about is that he spends 3/4 of his days reading reports on companies and industries and things like that. Are you telling me that in Tikr you can basically, using AI, you can consume that data in seconds rather than having to spend 3/4 of your day, 5 hours of your day, reading reports and assessments?
100%. And I know that's going to sound crazy to some, but check this out. We're launching a feature this week. By the time this podcast airs, it will already be out, but it's called Proven Results. And I was talking to somebody who works, this is incredible. I could not believe the numbers I saw when I saw this. So one of my friends, he's been in the finance industry for 40 years. And he shows me, I'm not going to give you the company name, but he showed me a dashboard interface of a large financial conglomerate and showed me how you want to show how Tikr compares to the market. You want to show a chart showing lines and how it compares, as well as a little table showing like S&P versus Tikr, and how did those numbers stack up? So I did an Excel export from our database behind the scenes to see I know it's beating the market by how much. And I started seeing some pretty impressive numbers. So my team just launched it on our development environment. So it's not public yet, but here are those numbers. Tikr, let's say it's on sale stocks, large cap, a 4M score of 70 or higher, not 80. How do they compare? Get this. S&P 500 returns about 80% per year over 5 years. Tikr, 200%.
Wow.
Over 10 years, the S&P is like 100, I think it was 170%. Tikr was close to 500%.
Wow.
It's crushing the market. Then I did, what do on sale mega cap stocks look like? What do on sale mega cap stocks with a 4M score? So this proven results feature shows you different buckets or funds on how it compares, and you can even create your own. For example, you could import your portfolio. We have a portfolio tracker on Tikr, so you can keep track of your stocks, or like a watch list. You can import that and see how does that compare. But I have a feeling I'm going to get this in front of people and they're going to be like, this is what I want to happen. This is the new benchmark. Our great grandfather's process of analyzing stocks needs to go away. We need to be smarter with technology. And I'm going to say it right now, Tikr is that solution. But this is not me. Like, I give all the credit to Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, and Phil Town for really putting out the calculations data. I just organize them into software because I've been in software for close to 18 years now. So it's been what I do.
And one of the M's you mentioned was the people. It's my style, the way I view things. I always think numbers don't lie, but behind every business, there's a human being. There's a board, there's a CEO. Yes. In your view, how important is that CEO/board of that company for the success of for a success of a business?
It's actually very important. The CEO, our analysis, our tool, we look at things such as Glassdoor ratings. Not every company in the world looks at Glassdoor, but there are statistics out there that happier employees actually do produce better returns in the stock market. So we like to look for those Glassdoor ratings where the company score it's from a 0 to 5. If you can get above a 4, that's pretty good. And then the CEO approval, it's between 0 and 100%. If you can get above 80%, that's pretty good. So we factor that in because a good leader brings in, they attract people who make plays and get things done. They don't need hand holding. They don't need babysitting. They don't have egos. We do know we all have met those people that have egos, but we want those CEOs that can attract that leadership team, and that leadership team will hire other employees like them as well. That we're here to serve the customer. We're not here to serve ourselves. I've worked for large companies in the past. I've met both people within those organizations. People who care about the customer, and then people are like, I just want to meet my timelines or deadlines so I can get my quarterly bonus. It's like, you're not doing anybody any favors. But anyway, yes, good leadership, it matters.
What about Elon Musk in Tesla? What rating does he get out of 100?
Tesla, in fact, I'm not going to hide anything from you guys. And if you guys, and this is one thing I'll mention on Tikr, all the calculations are open source on Tikr.com. There's a little education tab. People love that. The 2 big indicators that show transparency, you can see my portfolio, and we give you the calculations. We look at it like what Volvo did in 1959 with a 3-point seatbelt, 3-point harness. It's theirs, but we're not going to charge anybody for it. Go use it, because we'd rather see people survive car accidents. In our case, we want people to buy and sell stocks with confidence. But anyway, Tesla, they're on sale, and they've got a 4M score of 79 out of 100. Again, if you can getting close to 80 is really hard. So they're actually pretty good on that 4M. Now, Elon, whether people like him or hate him, he does have a track record of generating returns for investors. PayPal being his first big win.
Of course.
Right. Tesla has returned a ton of money for shareholders. Because I do videos on our YouTube channel, I do let people know what you could expect in the future. I feel like the EV market is becoming more saturated, and Tesla has even had to reduce their profit margins to compete with other companies. So I just tell Tesla investors, if you're a diehard Elon fan or Tesla fan, just know I think the tide could go the other direction. Be careful.
But you still haven't told me what his board, he's scoring for himself at Tesla.
I get where you're going here. Okay, so in the results, because you actually walk through the 4M, you complete it, spits out a score, and then it lets everybody know. We actually don't delineate the results, although that's a good feature request. You just brought something up there. Is this 79? What are the scores? How do they fall within those four categories? But let's say it's 25 is the highest score per M. He's probably, knowing this is a 79, he's probably at 19 or 20 out of 25.
Okay. So. And as you say, like he does have a track record of building businesses and being quite innovative and stuff. Okay, awesome. Let's just touch a little bit about the SaaS side of it. So I understand that you were a project manager. I also did a similar role many years ago. So the difficulty with building software is it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort to build new features. You're constantly iterating and build. Like you said, after my comment about the separation of the 4Ms, you're suddenly like, actually, we could just build that you can see what the board, what the leader, what the CEO's score is. How have you been able to build a successful SaaS product, software product, and keep on iterating, keep on finding new features, new ways of doing things, whether it's simplifying the code, whether it's building a new feature? How do you do that as a leader within the software business?
Yeah, this goes back to after I went through that merger of my first business and I started doing corporate contracting. And just if you guys are interested in know, if you're entrepreneurial, but you really don't have a good product idea, the easiest transition to corporate world is project management, because you get to operate like an entrepreneur. Business analyst, like what you served, is similar, because I've worked with a ton of system analysts, business analysts, project managers, project coordinators. There's a big difference. I could go into that, but I transitioned easily to project management, and pretty much what they would do is throw me at a project, whether it's building a software, rescuing a division that needed to be profitable, launching franchises. I've done that. So not just software, but I really got in the habit of being thrown at something and finding success. And I can't give the credit to myself. The credit really, one, goes to the team, but more importantly is listening to the customer. And I find the people out there, the entrepreneurs that build the best products, they are the best at getting feedback. You can't just do surveys. You got to do Zoom calls. Like prior to Zoom, you had WebEx or Citrix products, which are fine, but Zoom came around and just made life easier. And that's what I would do. This was over 10 years ago. I had to use those conferencing platforms, and they weren't always like, we're using Skype. Like, remember that? Like using Skype for business. But doing screen shares of UIs, like you do something that's designed back in the day in Photoshop. These days, I recommend using Figma. Show people this is what your experience is going to look like when you click this. This will happen. This is the functionality. And then you get your customers to be like, Sean, okay, so I like about half of what you showed me, but it would be better if it did this and this. Okay, got it. Rinse and repeat, and try to create like a cadence of, if you're not meeting every week, it's every 2 weeks minimum, and doing that over and over for a year. And if you can do that and be disciplined about it, then you deliver product, like actual software platforms that people use and share with others and actually make money. But most people don't do the heavy lifting of put the decision making on the customers. You have to really empower them, bring them into the equation, and be a good product owner and ask them that. Because I've worked with a ton of people. I will not stress this enough, but I've worked with a ton of people out there that are straight up arrogant and be like, the customer doesn't know what they want. That's a quote that Steve Jobs would use. Not everybody is Steve Jobs. All right.
No,
just
true.
Being straightforward. And that arrogance is got to go. And customer's dumb, and customer doesn't know what they're talking about. You probably met those people too. It's nope. gone. And I actually had a few of those people in Tikr at one point. You got to get the hell out. You're like, we are working for the customer, not ourselves. And listening to the customer is key.
So part of when I was working, so I was managing teams developing software.
Yeah.
We were doing the sales and the implementation of the new clients. And someone worked with us at the company I worked for about 2 years, and he was an architect, a software architect. So very like high level stuff. Didn't want to get involved in the day-to-day activities of actually building the stuff. He'd done that for 20 years, whatever it was, a long time. And he was specialized in it as an architect. And he would say to us, it's all about building new features, bringing in, as you say, like outside sources that are that customers to get their gauge on what they would benefit from. But we've all got to think about the year project of this software, how we're able to create something unique, something different, building something and do that. That's what you're doing. Is that what you're like, working with the customer, working with your team, trying to work out new features, trying to work out how to simplify, how to make it more consistent, make the coding? Is that kind of your role in Tikr?
Yeah, one of the many, and that's something I always done is been a project manager / architect. And I was never great at design, so I would do like wireframes in Photoshop, and I still do that today. And then we got a UI UX guy from Poland who's very good, like the look and feel of Tikr, both the web app and the mobile app. I give credit to him, but I have a pretty good idea extracting the pain. What is the customer? What is the pain they're dealing with? And how do we create a UI UX that solves that pain? I will make that translation, put it into a design, and then get it off to my UI UX. Okay, go make it pretty, and rinse and repeat. And to go higher level here, to give you the concept of where do you go? What do you work on first? We use a tool called Looped In. It's like an upvoting tool that allows customers to upvote their favorite features. Then you can drill into, okay, the top 10. And then you need to think about what removes the most pain, like what is the most frequently asked feature, but also this goes back to the profit center question, what is going to generate the most revenue for the company? So you have to be thinking about not just, you're not a nonprofit helping people. They're like your profit center. You have employees. I have employees. Those employees have kids. Those kids eat food. Everybody's right. So we got to be what's that balance? The most important features, but also features that generate the most revenue. And that becomes your laser focus, and you focus on those things first.
So let's talk a little bit about marketing. So who is your target client? Who is the person that you're spending most of your marketing budget on outreach into to try and get them onto Tikr?
Yeah. So our model right now is a B2C play. 80% of our customers are complete newbies. They hear about a stock at a restaurant or Twitter or X, Reddit, YouTube, a podcast, the list goes on. And then they join a broker. Like where you're at in the UK, the big ones are DeGiro, eToro. I think Free Trade and First Trade are there as well.
Trading 212 as well. Trading 212.
Yes,
I've used in the past.
Yeah, a lot of customers in Tikr use that because we do have a lot of customers around Europe. And then in the States, you get the usual suspects like Robinhood and Fidelity, Schwab. And a lot of these people can join these platforms. It's very low barrier to entry. Their job as a broker is to make sure your money's safe, and then you can buy and sell stocks. They don't analyze stocks. You don't know if Apple's actually good or Tesla's good or Nvidia is good. That's where a screener comes into, and that's what we do. So in our case, the 80%, that's beginners. And then the 20% are people that they know what like market cap and PE ratio is, and they probably use some of our competitors. They use Tikr because it's more efficient. It saves them time. So how do we bring in that 80%? A big tool for us has been YouTube. So to break down the percentages here, I'll give them to you. About 17% of our customers come from YouTube. About 16 or 17% come from SEO. So we really put a lot of content out there, helpful articles, teaching you how to invest, and that attracts people looking for this content. Another category is partnering with people who are like other fintechs that serve the retail investor. And we have an affiliate program that starts at like 30%, and we can dial that up to 50% over time. But like fintechs are good, YouTubers that talk about finance, bloggers that talk about finance, they can join our program and get reoccurring commissions from our tool. So I'm big on affiliate marketing. It's very important. Although I have to admit, we haven't cracked the code on how to recruit affiliates en masse. Like, it's hard because all these people are getting inundated with pitches. So that's some area of improvement for Tikr. We are
Let's
also,
just touch on that. Let's just touch on that for a
yeah,
second. That whole idea.
yeah.
So you're getting industry people to use Tikr and what, validate it and then give a testimonial. Is that the mechanism, or are
Yeah.
you? Yeah, go on.
Yeah, some good examples there is we've literally got like all the resources, templates on what you could talk about. You could do a stock review with Tikr. You could do a review of Tikr. You could do a competitive comparison between Tikr and another platform. But videos like that, they're evergreen. You can do one YouTube video, or you could do one blog post, or you could do a series of social posts talking about why do I use Tikr? And we literally have all the copy laid out.
Right.
So these affiliates can promote, they get their unique link. Whenever somebody clicks it, it's tracked. And if they pay, the system we use to pay them is super efficient. The problem we have is I'm having a hard time. Like, I'll reach out to 10, 20 affiliates. I'll get no responses. And I'll say, you can make passive income, like literally, because not just 1 month you get paid or 1 year, it's like reoccurring.
Yeah.
And it, like, everything's templated. It just drives me nuts. But we do have a few that are working, but I really want that like influencer that's got like 500,000 subs on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like, they could make a ton of money with Tikr. It just drives me nuts.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, because validation from people using the service is a great way of building a business. Like, referrals as well is another great way of being able to build a business as well.
I could touch on that real quick.
Go for it.
Yeah, so that's like the fourth area, as I mentioned, is YouTube, SEO, affiliates, but then referrals from friends is big. And we're starting to, there's mechanisms we put into Tikr. Here's good. I like to be tactical. Like, when I talk to people, it's don't just give me fluff. What can I do? So we have a mechanism in Tikr where you can click a button. It says save 3 months or save 30%. You click it. And then if you refer 3 friends,
right,
they don't even have to join. You can just refer 3 friends. It unlocks a 30% off coupon code at that moment. Yeah. So if we could get like 100 people to just click that button, share with 3 friends, bam, we got immediate viral marketing. I haven't seen a lot of growth. There's some growth because we do see referrals from friends as like the 4th largest category in how we're building the tool. But I have been studying PayPal and Dropbox, their referral programs. Here's an example. Dropbox, it's based on amount of storage. So if you share with 1 friend, your friend gets twice the storage and you get twice the storage in that instance. I'm like, wow, that's pretty good, because PayPal did a refer a friend, they get $10 and you get $10 at that instance. And what I'm learning is, and what kind of sparked me on this path with Dropbox and PayPal is I'm reading $100 million Leads by Alex Hormozi. No endorsement. I'm not an affiliate in any way, but he does have a lot of good content. I'm like, that referral program is better than what we've got in Tikr right now. So we're going to play with something there. We got to figure it out.
It's marketing is one of the things that is it's like building software. It's a constantly evolving thing. You're trying to bring in new people or targeting to more succinctness. Like, I think marketing is equally as frustrating as it is fascinating in my mind, because you never 100% crack it. You get successes, you get things that work well, and you need to double down on those. But then you're always thinking, actually, maybe we should be prioritizing this as well. But yeah,
I was going to ask you real quick, do you play golf at all?
I don't.
Okay.
But what I know how to play golf, if you know what I mean.
Can be the sport of golf. I won't go into detail, but I used to be really bad. I took lessons and got a lot better, a lot more consistent. But you can hit like 20 bad shots, and then you get that one good one. You're like, oh, I'm coming back. Like so with marketing, and that's the thing, you're going to beta test, you're going to try this and this and this, and nothing's working. Maybe the universe tells me I shouldn't be an entrepreneur. No, you got to remove that thought process, because you're going to get that one little thing to work. And then it's like, all right, I know what I'm doing. I'm a good marketer.
So I work with a lot of Americans and network with a lot of Americans, even though I'm based in London. And the Michael Jordan quote keeps on coming up. Like, yes. I missed however many thousand shots it was.
Yes.
But I made how many last shots to win a match? And that sort of quote, I can't remember, I'm butchering the quote, but I missed so many shots. And it is like that. Marketing is like that. And when you get good at something, you should obviously double down on it and make the most of it. But there's always another shot to either win or lose on. Right, I'm conscious that I want to ask you the last 6 questions, but I just want to ask you a couple of more generic sort of questions. So first question is, how have you evolved?
As a leader, I would say letting go of control, that can be a challenge for a lot of people, is like, list out what works. Like, how do I do something? This is my process. What have I done that works? And I'll hand it to people, but I don't stress about it. You don't have to be super organized like me and keep it in different locations. Like, try to be organized, but run with it, own it. And I look at it like, and I'll keep this short, but I used to play sports, and you don't want to get out there, baseball, for example, and be like, I need you to swing the bat exactly like this. It's, no, we're looking for the end result, which is we want you to be putting people on base, sending people to home plate, and of course, putting runs on the board. How you get there is on you. Yeah. And I look at it that way. And I try to hire athletes in Tikr, people who played sports, who are actually sportsmen, because they get it. Like, we know what we're driving for. Like, you take your own path, but we know we want to put runs on the board.
Yeah, that's a great metaphor. I think that's so true. And the follow-on question that I ask often is, what's your risk appetite?
Hi. I actually, when I decided to really, because I won't go too much into detail, but over the last 15 years, I bootstrapped a few side hustle tech ideas, and all of them failed. And partially, like, product market fit wasn't there, maybe product market saturation, there's a narrow moat. I just didn't find something. So when I came across Tikr, I found something I love, because I love investing and I love building SaaS. And I bootstrapped it for 3 years and decided to go full time in year 4, even though the revenues weren't high enough to pay myself equivalent or even close to my previous salary. I told myself, this is do or die. I am doing this, and I don't want to do anything else. Like, this is come hell or high water. I'm going to figure out a way to make this a global SaaS that has some real teeth in it. And I'm over, like, by this point, I was 40 years old. I'm like, I could be playing the corporate game for the next 20 years. Yeah. And I'm going to be miserable.
So I'm exactly the same. I left my corporate job at 40 years old 4 years ago. And it was like, if I don't do it now, I'm at that company for another 20 plus years, and God only knows what that life is going to look like. And
amen, man. Right. Like,
it was great. It's a lifestyle wise and everything. It's just been an absolute revelation. Yes, it's hard at times. Yes, you have struggles, but at least you're driving your own ship. And that is something that I think everyone who's listening or watching is, if you are an entrepreneur or want to be an entrepreneur, the flexibility is one of the biggest things for me, having flexibility of my time, as well as building teams, developing products, service. We do services mainly, but building those is incredibly rewarding, incredibly enjoyable. And it's hard at times, but it's so rewarding for lifestyle as well. Right. The last question before we hit the 6 questions, crypto, right? Why are you not leveraging crypto?
So we have crypto in Tikr, and the reason is we do attract the crypto traders, but do know this, we do tell people try to invest 5% or less of your net worth. The reason is crypto is not a business. It doesn't have an income statement, cash flow statement, and balance sheet. There's nothing you can analyze there to calculate where it's going. With stocks, we can do that all day. Results prove themselves. So crypto, it can be hot 1 minute, but it can be It can tank and I saw this, remember a few years ago when Bitcoin went to 60,000 and then it quickly went down to 10,000. Yeah. There were people like taking out second mortgages on homes thinking this is going to make them a multimillionaire. They lost everything. Yeah. It is actually a pretty stupid investment. I could talk about crypto in a whole episode if you, again, 5% or less, because we don't know what coin is going to be the coin. Yeah. Because the world is moving towards a decentralized currency. It will have a single currency. We only know that's coming. The question is, what's it going to be? I'll tell you right now, it's not going to be Bitcoin because it's too energy efficient. I'll stop there. I could talk about this all day.
Yeah, we could probably do a whole new show, another show on this. We're coming to the end of the interview. There are still more questions that I want to ask you. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time. So I asked the same 6 questions to all of my guests. They're quick-fire questions. They don't need a quick-fire answer. They're a little bit thought-provoking is what has been described. First question is, what's the best decision that you've made?
Deciding to go full-time with Tikr.
And so one of the other questions I want to ask you, have you taken outside investment?
No, this is completely bootstrapped. I invested $30,000 on the MVP.
Right, my own money. What's the best piece of advice you've been given?
That's from my dad. Do that which generates revenue first. And well, that to back up a second, actually from him and his dad, my grandfather, is you do what you say you're going to do. You stick to it.
Yeah. It's such an undervalued, old-fashioned way of doing business, but do what you say you're going to do. And that builds trust. And that builds trust with partners, with clients, with investors. It builds an element of trust. And it sounds so simple, but the number of people that don't do that. Quick story, quick side story. I was talking to someone about potentially helping them in their business. And he just said yes to everything that I suggested, what I wanted, what the investment, what the return was. He said yes, and then just disappeared. And I just thought, you're not going to be successful in business because you needed to say to me, yes, I agree with this, but this probably doesn't work for me, but can we do this instead? And I just find it such a terrible way to run a business because you're just going to lose trust with your customers. And once 100%. They see that you're like that, then that you can't come back from that, in my view. Anyway,
I'm with
side note. Next question. Who's helped you most in your career?
Gosh, there's been so many people. This is a faith answer, but God.
Go for it.
And when I say God, Jesus Christ, there's so many situations I run into, and I need your help right now. Like, and get this, there are key decisions to make, especially with Tikr, that it would come to me in the middle of the night, and I have to wake up and go to a notepad and be like, okay, that wasn't me. And I'm very left brain, logical, analytical. I'm like, that was a good effing idea. That was not me.
So it happens to me as well. And sometimes I'll wake up and I'll just have thought of something, and I get my phone and I go into my notes section and write the notes. Go back to sleep, and luckily I'm blessed that generally I do go back to sleep. It's not like another 3 hours to get to sleep, but I go to sleep, and then the next morning it is like it's divine. I don't know if it is divine, but it feels like it's divine in the fact of you're like, that wasn't what I was thinking about. My logical brain was thinking about that problem for the last week or so, or a couple of days or something like that. It is really, and I would say it's, so an exercise I did a little while ago was actually when you wake up, you're in the middle of a dream, you're falling, you're winning, you're losing, whatever it is. But actually, when you wake up in that split second, go to your phone, write notes on what you're dreaming about or what the substance of what that was, and just come back and reflect on it, because it's your subconscious. If you don't believe in divinity, it's your subconscious. And sometimes your subconscious is trying to influence you on where you should be going. And it's hard to tap into that. It's not something you can easily tap into. So I would advise, if that is something, like some people just sleep the whole night through and they don't have those things, but I went through an exercise and I've stopped doing it. I might start doing it again, just to have that sort of, what are you dreaming about? What are you thinking about when you're in your subconscious while you're sleeping? It's a very interesting exercise because sometimes you don't realize what's actually happening. I think that's an interesting thought for people. Next question is, tell me about a regret that you have.
I would say, as I've gotten further along. I should have been investing more in the stock market than investing in entrepreneurial endeavors, probably around 2010, 11. But I decided to do the whole, I'm going to invest in myself and go all in. And I can't tell you how many strikeouts I had. It made me a lot better at business. And I think it'll all pay off. It's starting to pay off now, but my gosh, where my investment account would have been if I really got serious in about 2010, like almost 15 years later, that it'd be a much different number there. But I'm thinking, as I'm answering this question, I'm thinking, oh, Sean, that's very superficial. It's value add to me. It's not value add to others. I guess that would be the closest thing. Otherwise, no, everything's happening for a reason. It's happening for me. It's not happening to me. And that training there is just making me a better entrepreneur. And believe me, like even 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I am night and day, like much better like business owner than I thought I was good back then. Now it's because you had to go through pain. I had to go through pain. Like I've gotten a lot better at business.
What are you most proud of?
Staying to my word. I do look back at situations where I could have fumbled the truth a little bit, or maybe took more money. Like I said, there's a crypto situations or other situations. And I decided I'm going to stay. I'm going to be a man of my word. I'm going to honor what my parents taught me. And I sleep better at night. I can lose sleep pretty easily. But if I make good decisions, and I do rest better at night because of those. If I found younger ages, I've cut corners and done dumb things it weighs on me, and then I lose sleep.
Yeah. What is your why?
I'm here temporarily, and we all are. And it's if I do talk to God about this, I'm like, if I'm going to be here, I want to make an impact. I don't want to sit on the sidelines. I'm not going to waste time. There's things I want to do personally. Like my wife and I love traveling, but we can't travel like 365 days a year. You'd be exhausted. So it's like, if I'm going to be here, I'm going to do something that matters. In this case, I love helping people invest confidently in the stock market. And I love it. I found my passion. I found something that people need help with. And I'm like, God, give me every bit of opportunity, favor you can, because I'm going to lean into this. If I'm going to be here, it better be for a purpose. I don't want to sit on the sidelines.
Amazing. And what does legacy mean to you?
The impact on people. If I'm gone, I want people, I don't really think that a lot, but if people were to say like, he was a good guy, he did what he said he was going to do, like that'd be great. I don't think about my death here. Now you're getting me thinking about if I were to go tomorrow, what would people say?
And I think it's an interesting question that often for a lot of people that are on my show actually think quite a lot about legacy, whether it's providing something for their children, their grandchildren, or whether it's leaving. Often I get like leaving the world in a better place than when I entered it. And I'm not trying to make you think about death or anything, but it is an interesting question, and it often impacts a lot of, I wouldn't say older people, but like the entrepreneurs that have been there, done it, grown to an extent. They're looking about giving a lot more back to their community because they were good for them. So it's an interesting question. I ask it because I'm always fascinated to hear people's views on where they see at the end of their days what's important. And for me, it's my kids, just making sure that I have give my kids the best start that I can give them for them to hopefully be successful during my life and after my life. So anyway, last question. Where can people find you if they want to reach out to you or learn more about Tikr?
Yeah, 2 places. Number one is go to Tykr.com. That's Tykr.com. And then the second place is LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sean. It's been an absolute pleasure. This is actually a really interesting area because it's something I've been thinking about since I started running my own businesses, how to invest as well as, because when you're in a salaried job, you always think about investments. You think everything's going to be on the 401k or the pension fund. And actually, it shouldn't be. The investment side should be very much part of your sort of plan, whether it's for your retirement or for your kids as well. So thank you so much for being so open and being so clear about your strategy and your mission as well. So thank you so much for your time. Have a lovely day.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to Business Growth Talks. This podcast is released every Monday, so don't miss an episode by subscribing to all podcast platforms, including Apple and Spotify. Have a great day.